Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this session of Spokane Public Schools Keep Learning Series for Literacy. Today's lesson is for all our fourth graders out there, and any child who is interested is welcome to join us. My name is Sarah, and I'm an instructional coach at Cooper Elementary in Spokane Schools, and I will be your teacher for this lesson. I'm so glad you are participating with me today. If you didn't see our previous lesson, you can find it on the KSPS website. You can still tune in to today's lesson if you haven't seen any of our others. Today we are going to read a historical fiction story called Writing Freedom. Pay close attention to the characters as we read the story and their character traits. For today's lesson, you will need a piece of paper and something to write with. I will give you a moment to gather your supplies. Let's get started. At the end of the story, you will draw a Venn diagram to record similarities and differences between characters, which is the same as comparing and contrasting. Using the diagram will help you notice and think about details of what the characters think, say, and do that will deepen your understanding of the story. Let's go over a few vocabulary words to help us understand the story better. The first word is escorted. Guides who knew the Western trails well often escorted or led travelers. Escorted. The second word is relied. This family built a house of sod. They relied or depended on materials they found. So relied means depended. Reputation. When customers were happy about a shop, its owner earned a good reputation. So a reputation is the way that people see you or think of you. Defended. Westward travelers defended themselves from harm by circling their wagons. So they guarded against something or someone. Satisfied. Despite the hard work and danger, some settlers were satisfied with life in the West. So satisfied means content or happy. Throughout our history, individuals have made important contributions to our nation. Some, like Abraham Lincoln, are famous. Others are everyday people who helped the United States grow through hard work and determination. Stagecoach drivers, for instance, helped people travel long distances over dangerous land in the 1800s. Before railroads and cars were invented, stagecoach drivers took people safely over bumpy dirt roads and rickety bridges. Writing Freedom is a story about Charlotte Parkhurst, a determined young woman who drives a stagecoach in the mid-1800s. You'll find out how she works against the odds to be successful in a job that only men had done before. This story is titled Writing Freedom by Pam Munoz Ryan, illustrated by Mark Scott. Let's begin reading. In the mid-1800s, when most girls are not allowed to have paid jobs, Charlotte Parkhurst disguises herself as a boy in order to work with horses. She goes by the name of Charlie and keeps her true identity a secret. Years later, Charlie moves from Rhode Island to an area near Sacramento, California. There, she and her friends, James and Frank, drive horse-drawn stagecoaches for a living. Suddenly, a bad accident leaves Charlotte partially blind. Now, with only one good eye left, Charlotte must relearn how to drive a coach. The next day, she overturned the coach completely, but was able to jump free. What was she doing wrong? She knew how to drive a team. She didn't need training with horses or the ribbons. She knew those things by heart. It was her eyes she didn't know. She needed to train her one good eye. She needed to learn how to use it all over again. She started taking a smaller team out every day. First a 2-horse team, then a 4. Finally, with 6 in the hand, Charlotte had been proving herself her whole life, and she wasn't about to stop now. She didn't even care if Frank and James caught on to what she was doing. They might as well see me trying, she thought. She learned the different sounds the horses' hooves made on different types of roads. If the road was hard, the hooves made a hollow, clopping sound. If the road was soft, the hooves made a dull, thudding sound. She relied on her one good eye to take over for the other. She trusted her senses, and the 6th sense she had for handling horses. Charlotte drove back and forth over her route and memorized every rock and tree. She set a goal for herself. If she made 10 clean, round-trip runs, she'd know she was as good as the next driver. After that, she'd just have Frank and James to convince. So what evidence have we seen so far that Charlotte has great determination? The evidence I've seen is that Charlotte did not give up on relearning to drive a stagecoach. She worked step by step toward her goal. She learned to use her sense of hearing and memorized rocks and trees on the route so she wouldn't run into them. Let's continue reading. After the 10th clean run, Charlotte went to James. I want to drive the stage run over the river. Now, Charlie, we've been over all that. Me and Frank think. You ride with me, and if you don't think I'm fit, then I won't bother you again, said Charlotte. What will the passengers say about your eye patch, said James. Just tell them it's to frighten off bandits. They won't know any different. I don't know. Charlotte defended herself. You know my reputation. I traveled all this way. Riding coaches is the whole reason I came to California, and I came because you asked me to come. You know I've been practicing. Go by my past driving. That's all I'm asking, and I wouldn't be asking if I didn't know I could drive. Reluctantly, James said, the first sign that you can't handle the situation, I take the reins. I'll tell you if I need help. Don't go stepping in unless I ask. Fair enough, said James. Tomorrow? Tomorrow if the weather holds. I ain't going to be a fair weather driver, said Charlotte. I want to drive, same as usual, like all the other drivers. Well, I guess you deserve that much. Tomorrow, rain or shine. It was one of those storms where the rain came down in wash tubs, but the stage was scheduled to go. The coach was chock full of passengers, baggage, and mail pouches that had to get through. Charlotte was soaked clear through by the time the baggage was secured. James rode shotgun next to her. The wind wouldn't let up, and the rain came flying in every which direction. James seemed nervous. Charlie, I can't even see the road, he yelled. Then it's a good thing I'm driving because I can smell it and I can hear it, yelled Charlotte. James sat back as the coach headed into the storm. The mud was so thick it reached for the hubs, but Charlotte still found the road. Besides determination, what other trait does Charlotte show in her conversation with James? I think she shows pride. The details from the story that make me think this are that she reminds James of her good reputation. She tells James not to help her unless she asks for help, and she refuses to only drive in fair weather. When they reached the river, it had swelled almost to the bridge supports. Charlotte stopped the stage on the north bank. Stay inside, she told the passengers. I'll be checking the bridge. Charlotte took off her gloves and carefully walked across the swaying timbers to see if the bridge was worthy. She stomped a few times and listened to the moans of the wood. She felt the swollen planks and pulled on the guard ropes until she was satisfied. She walked back to the stage and told the passengers to get out. Ain't no reason to risk your lives, said Charlotte. James, I'm going to walk you and these fine people over to the other side to wait for me there. But a portly gentleman refused to budge. I'll take my chances inside the coach, he said. Not on my coach, said Charlotte. I'm familiar with adventure, young man, he argued. The bridge can't take any extra weight, and I'm not about to lose my first passengers to that river. Now step out, or I'll help you step out. Still grumbling, the man reluctantly climbed down. In the blinding rain, Charlotte escorted the group, a few at a time, across the bridge. When they were safely settled on the other side, she walked back for the stage. So what traits do Charlotte's actions show about her? Explain using details from the text. I think her actions show that she's brave and responsible. The bridge is swaying, but she crosses it alone to test it. She doesn't let her passengers come across until she knows the bridge can hold them. She got back in the box. Thunder growled nearby. She knew what was coming next. She held tight to the ribbons and waited for the lightning. It hit within a mile, but she kept the horses reined. Trusting her instincts, she inched the horses and the stage across the bridge. The timbers groaned as the iron-capped wheels clacked across the wooden planks. Ahead, the passengers huddled together and watched anxiously from the other side. The river raced a few feet beneath the wheels. The bridge rocked and the horses reared and whinnied. The coach was smack in the middle of the bridge. Charlotte kept her sights on the far bank. She heard the splintering and cracking of weathered wood. That meant the bridge was coming apart. She stood up in the box. Keep them straight on the bridge, Charlotte. Dashing from the water from her good eye and gathering the reins in a firm grip, she cracked her whip and yelled, "Away!" She was thrown back into the box. The horses jibbed side to side, but she held tight to the ribbons. They flew across like scared jackrabbits. The back wheels barely turned on solid ground when the bridge collapsed and dropped into the churning river. "Whoa, my beauties, whoa!" yelled Charlotte. How does Charlotte show her understanding of the horses as she waits for the lightning? It seems like she knows that lightning might cause horses to panic, so she keeps them reined in. What do you think the man who didn't want to leave the coach is thinking now? I bet we have the same answer on this one. I think he's glad that he didn't stay in the coach because he might have caused it to move more slowly and fall into the river. The passengers hurried back to the stage, clamoring about the excitement, while Charlotte settled the team. "We could have all fallen in," one woman gasped. "My heart's a-pounding," a man exclaimed as others joined him. "We would have drowned." "He saved my life," said the gentleman who almost refused to leave the coach. And by the way they were talking, and James was nodding his head, Charlotte knew that there wouldn't be a question about her driving a stage again. So, what do you think Charlotte is feeling at the end of the story? I think she might be feeling pride, maybe happiness or relief, maybe all three of those. If you describe any of those feelings, you are right. Charlotte had to prove to James that she was still a good driver, so she must have felt happy and proud that she succeeded. Even though she had confidence in herself, she had known the situation was dangerous, so she must also feel relieved. We just read a historical fiction text about a young woman pretending to be a man. When readers compare and contrast characters, it sharpens our understanding of the characters. For example, one character's courage stands out more clearly when other characters are less brave. When I compare and contrast characters, I can look at the specific details in the text, telling what the characters think, say, do, and believe. For instance, if I compare and contrast Charlotte and James, I think about the way they're both tough and determined, but also about how James at first doubts Charlotte's driving skills, whereas Charlotte believes her skills are as good as anyone's. Go ahead and get your paper and draw a Venn diagram like the one you see here. I will give you a moment to get it drawn. After you draw your Venn diagram, go ahead and label it. Character 1 is going to be Charlotte, and character 2 is the passengers. So today we are going to compare Charlotte's feelings and thoughts with those of the passengers. What is one thought that both Charlotte and the passengers share? Yes, they know that Charlotte and the horses are in danger. And what is our text evidence? You're right. So Charlotte wouldn't let the passengers ride across the bridge, and that shows us that she knew they were in danger. And when the passengers knew it too, because they knew that she wouldn't let them cross. So they all know that Charlotte and the horses are in danger. Go ahead and add that in the middle, because the middle section of the Venn diagram is where they have something in common or the same. What is a thought or feeling that Charlotte and the passengers did not share? One that I can think of is that Charlotte trusts her instincts while the passengers all are huddled together waiting anxiously. So that shows me that they don't trust her. They don't trust that they're going to be safe. So on the side that has Charlotte's name, write Charlotte trusts her instincts. And on the side where the passengers are listed, write the passengers are huddled together watching anxiously. So that is something that they do not have in common. It's different. What else can we compare or contrast about Charlotte and the passengers? Right, something that is the same is that they all hope they will cross safely. So go ahead and write that in the middle. They all hope they will cross safely. They also are all relieved when they do get across. You can go ahead and add that to the middle section as well. They are all relieved when they do get across. After you write that down, try to think of one more difference that Charlotte and the passengers had. And think about the difference between their thoughts and their feelings. So another one I thought of is Charlotte knew that the man should get out of the coach because it wasn't safe. And in order to safely cross, he had to be out, but he did not agree. So on Charlotte's side, you can write Charlotte knew the man should get out of the coach. And on the passenger side, you can write the man did not agree with Charlotte that he should get out. Great job today. You compared and contrasted the thoughts and feelings of Charlotte and her passengers. Next time we will reread to analyze the text and focus on Charlotte's life. I've enjoyed doing some literacy learning with you today. Thank you for joining me as you keep learning from home. I look forward to seeing you again here on our next lesson on KSPS. Bye.